Welcome back everybody to episode number 3 of my Bloodborne Ultimate walkthrough. We're just going to go ahead and visit the tombstone here and return to Old Yharnam where we left off at the end of last episode. So here in Old Yharnam we're going to benefit greatly from having a torch, and if you didn't already get the torch in our original first episode, we're going to get one here, and it's actually an improved torch, so don't worry about it if you don't have it for whatever reason. So once we open this door, if we head to the left, we're going to get a speech by an NPC that's over on the rooftop way off in the distance. But we're not going to worry about that just yet. We're just going to run over here and kill this guy. And that's okay if he falls, because we want to be down here anyways. So we're going to grab these upgrade materials. Make sure to loot this body here. And then we're going to drop down and drop here. There's going to be an enemy here and to our left, so be aware that you're going to get jumped. Alright, great. Now this is what they were guarding. This is the Hunter's Torch. Like I just told you, we were going to get that really easily. So we're going to go ahead and replace the regular torch. You can see here it does 25 more fire damage and has more durability. It's just an overall better item. Makes the torch pretty much useless. So we've got that in our left hand. This is important because these enemies here, these beasts, the ones without the hoods, they react negatively towards the flame. They will actually cover their eyes and kind of back away. Now, it's not 100% effective because they will become emboldened at certain points. So you can't always rely on it, but just having it in your hand will help you basically stun or stagger them effectively because they'll turn away or be less aggressive. So it's nice to have that, but the ones with the hoods, they will not be affected by that whatsoever. So just go ahead and keep that in your hand for the majority of this episode. This door right here is going to come into play towards the end of the episode, and we can only open that from the other side. Alright, so there's no other enemies that you need to be aware of down here. That was just the 2 that we killed in order to get this Hunter's Torch. We can circle back around, climbing up the ladder here. This is going to ultimately get us to where we began the level. And thus, when you see the door that was locked there a second ago, that's going to be our shortcut to return to the boss eventually at the end of the episode. Alright, so we grab that and we just drop down here. And we're back to where we began. So now, and that's the doorway which we came from. So what we're going to do now is head this way, and we're going to get some dialogue.
Hunter! Didn't you see the warning? Turn back at once. Old Yharnam, burned and abandoned by men, is now home only to beasts. They are of no harm to those about. Turn back, or the hunter will face the hunt.
Okay, so we do have the monocle. The monocular. It's hard not to say that. So you can see him over here. Try not to keep my crosshair on him so you can see him. But you can see that slight movement next to that structure. That structure is actually a Gatling gun. So he has a huge gun and he can shoot us from that clock tower. So it's really important to use cover in this zone. And we'll discuss him a little bit more the closer we get to dealing with that. I'm going to go ahead and get these items off of here though, since we're not going to be using those for the most part. Now we've got a beast that's going to cross the bridge. We don't have to worry about his Gatling gun just yet, I'm going to let you know. But we might get to see him react to this torch. You can see exactly what I'm talking about here. They will eventually defend themselves, as you would expect. I don't believe there's an item over here, but I always doubt myself. Yep, there we go. Of course, the 6 blood vials. How could I forget? Okay. So, we've got some more beasts over here, one of which is directly in front of us up against the wall. Whenever you see these smoky piles of corpses, you can pretty much count on extra enemies in here waiting to ambush. You can see underneath that tree branch to the left of my character, we've got one of the hooded beasts. So they're not going to be affected by our torch. So if we move in, we'll see the eyeballs of one of them. And like I said, even though we've got the torch here, this one was aggressive originally. And I think it's just because of the distance. You can see once they notice the torch, they're not as bold. And torch actually is a good method of attack if you use the L2 button for a finishing blow. Like, let's say they've got a little bit of health left, and your axe swing is a little bit slower than what you would like. Grab the cold dew. And now there's another item opposite this side of the building. So we'll head over there and grab that. Alright. Missed my attacks. I usually don't like to use the target lock. I don't like the restriction of my mobility. But sometimes when an enemy is stationary, which is really rare like that, you might want to just target lock, because then you're not going to have to worry about the camera doing crazy things to you. Alright, so we've got some more loot over here. Of course, bloodstone shards are very welcome. We definitely want as many upgrades as we can get at this point. Now, this zone definitely has a lot of enemies, but I think it's a lot easier than people would first initially expect. What makes this zone troubling is not knowing where you should go and how to take advantage of the cover. So just by navigation alone, you can make this zone so much easier. So you see that's... We'll let him finish talking. Okay, so what I was about to say is directly above my head, you see that statue there in the center. If we pass that, that's when he'll become aggressive and start shooting at us. Now, there's no way to really avoid him shooting at us at this point of the level, but there's better ways to navigate to protect us almost at all times. So that's my goal here, is to take you the proper way. There's not a lot of loot up here, so don't be worried about missing it out on anything by coming down. And also, you can return here if you want to. We've got a couple options dealing with him, and we'll discuss those in a little bit. But we can drop down here. We're going to take a little bit of damage. There will be a roaming enemy inside. I suggest getting this. Yep. Charge up a second one. Now, sometimes if you wait here, you can just listen, and they'll eventually walk by the door with their back turned toward you. I don't think these enemies are anything that you really need to take that sort of precaution for, and it's by itself, so, I mean, you can just run in there and crush it. So, you could hear him making a remark, and then he started firing at us. Unfortunately, I was looting that item while he was talking, so it skipped through his dialogue, and we didn't get to enjoy that. But right here, you're undercover. For the most part, you don't want to move out all the way. Just drag these guys towards you. Those pots that he just crushed are explosive. So if you're not in cover, they will actually do a hell of a lot of damage to you. Alright, that was great. Okay, so we've lost a little bit of health. So what I want to do is the classic get my blood bullets and then kill the next enemy, because we know these enemies are pretty weak. I don't know why this guy's roaming around the way he is. But you can see here, this is why I said don't go out too far, just let them come to you. This actually isn't a good opportunity to do that since the guy is attacking me. So we'll just... Oh. Now that he's And I made a mistake of pressing the wrong button there. Alright. We just wasted a blood vial, no big deal. But now we've got the 5 blood bullets and full health, as we intended to. Now, if you go up there, that's just going to take you back around to where we were when we dropped down. So don't worry about doing that at the moment. You're not missing out on anything there. What we're going to do here is just sprint and get to the corner. There's still some explosive pots, so we're going to run by. And we want to run to these birds here. Make sure you kill them all. They're really annoying if you leave 1 or 2 of them alive. Alright, so we can just run through here. If you want to take a peek ski, you're more than welcome to. You can see what's waiting for you. But like you would know if you play FPS games, taking a peek has its consequences. Alright, so let's go ahead and take out the easy ones while we can. Now, there's one that comes through this door here. Ooh, thought that was enough. This is important to come in here and get this item. You can see here a blood-tinged gemstone. I can speak. Alright, we're gonna grab this loot here. And we want... Now, you can already see one of them jump behind the smoke. We just want to run out here, about to the edge, and then run back in. Hopefully... Yeah, normally you can draw 2 or 3 of them this way. For some reason, we only got the attention of 1. Let's see. You can see how the torch is helping us here. Because that one is not attacking us. So, again, it's showing you why this is important to do here. Now, we don't want to put ourselves in danger, but the tree where this guy is standing will protect us. So, if we run out and fight this guy, we can use this tree for cover. Or if you just want to bail out and let him come back to us, we can do that. And you know you can take damage in these exchanges. It's not a problem, because you know you're not going to take lethal. So he's right above us. So we're just going to grab the loot here. Keep using cover to your advantage. Ah, shoot. It's really weird having enemies that don't engage because you're so used to anticipating their movement forward. It's one of those things that really takes a little bit of getting used to. So you know this guy is, yep, behind us, so we just want to get that loot and then be on our way. Oh, we've got his friend the hunter out. So he doesn't typically chase very far. So the hunter should have returned to his area. And what I'm going to suggest is bypassing him. And, all right, let's go ahead and... Normally, this is what he'll do. He'll return to his area. Now, if you want to have him disengage, you can just climb up this ladder here. You can see how he's got, like, his area where he's just going to continue to return to. Now, ultimately, we will want to fight this guy, but he doesn't give us any loot necessarily, and he's very tough. But you want to fight him down in an enclosed area if possible. This leads us to an opportunity here. If we climb this ladder, we'll get to the guy who's shooting at us. Now, you can kill him now, and you'll get his badge, which will allow you to buy different items at the shop. The other thing that you should know is you can come back here later through a special entrance, and if you talk to him by climbing up this ladder coming from that entrance, he will allow you to choose to be his friend or his foe. If you choose to be a foe, he's going to be a tough fight. You don't have the advantage of the surprise like you would if you chose to kill him right now. The only reason I say the advantage of surprise is because if you climb up the ladder and rush forward and just start shooting him, he's going to get knocked off the ledge. I'm going to suggest becoming his ally later because you earn a gesture by doing so, and it's the only way you can get that gesture, and I believe it's brush the dirt off or the dust. So it's a pretty neat gesture, and if you ever feel like playing online or just want to have a fancy little move to show off, you have to keep him alive in order to get that. So I'm not going to climb up here, and it also changes the way that I would approach this hunter over here, because if we fight him if we fight him in the area where he's standing, where he basically hangs out and runs back to, the guy up above us will shoot at us. So I'm not going to suggest fighting him unless you can keep him down in this area right below the ladder. So anything on the stairs or above, you don't want to get engaged with. But like you saw, he will move to these other areas, but he's always returning, because if he gets trapped down here, he's a much easier fight. And like all hunters in this game, they're very difficult to kill. I would consider them better than the average player you would meet online if you were to PvP, so take that into consideration. They will heal, they will crit you, parry you, so it's tough. It's not an easy fight, but you can definitely manage it, so it's up to you to make that decision. I'm going to show you the best way to get around this guy, because he's got some significant loot. So all the way here in the left corner, we've got a drop down, and I want you to just roll. And then you're just going to drop here. We're going to go there, roll down again, and head into this doorway. Now we're going to have lots of enemies in here. I know that was quick, so definitely take your time watching that again if you need to. So what I suggest is take out the easy ones by heading up these stairs. This way you can bottleneck most of the enemies here. It's going to give you a better position. If you don't head up the stairs, all the enemies are just going to continue to head down to you. So you'll be facing some enemies and you don't necessarily have vision on them all the time. Yeah, I don't like when they do that quick jump. So thankfully we can't destroy the chest like that. Go ahead and get your loot. This whole area has some really good loot. Obviously the gemstones we like. But we're also going to get a new weapon and some new attire. So this is an extremely important detour. Not a lot of people know how to get to this because it's such a awkward place to get to based off of the rolling off the side there. Doesn't necessarily look like something that you would go to, and it's guarded by a very tough hunter. The red moon hangs low, and beasts rule the streets. Are we left no other choice than to burn it all to cinders? Nice. I always get some Dark Souls vibes because you basically hear all the interesting stuff. I bypassed the weapon over there. We're gonna go back and get that. You're all probably no. The rifle spear. So you can see these guys here are to the side of the hunter. He already sees my torch and freaked out. These guys are to the side of the hunter. So this is how we'll get out of here. So we'll deal with them in a second. We're not necessarily going to fight them because it's going to give the hunter an opportunity to close in on us. But here's our rifle spear. We have to go this way. This is the only way out of here. So I want to be at full health just in case we get caught by the hunter for some reason. So what we're going to do is just drop down and make a quick run. You can see here, he already knows we're there. And of course the gunfire. So what I'm going to suggest to you is initially climb this ladder. He's really pissed off. Sorry, dude. Again, I don't think he's worth fighting because his loot is insignificant if he even has any. I don't think he drops anything, honestly. Alright, so we have an opportunity here to sneak up and land a crit. This is an important kill because if you enter in through that doorway down below, you really don't get to see this character. This area is so tall, it's unlikely that you would be looking all the way up and see this enemy waiting to ambush you. So it definitely is to your advantage to enter in this way. Also, we're gonna basically kill a lot of enemies and create a favorable scenario by destroying this right here. So you can see by the health markers that we were able to get some kills. And now we've got this big fire pit down below. And you can already see some of the enemies reacting. So the hooded ones normally don't care about the flame like we saw with our torch. But in fact, these are keeping away from it just because of the heat or the immense amount of light itself. I'm not sure which one. It's obviously up to us to decide. Now, there are a couple different places to go from here. I'm going to go ahead and suggest you move over here and drop down to this side because this will allow us to circle around easier without having to necessarily return. So we're just going to drop one more time here. Actually, yeah, so let's kill these enemies out to the side. So these guys are going to scream. And what happens when they scream is that the enemies below are going to start running up the stairs. Wow. I totally thought he already did his move. So this poisons you. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but of course the poison is a nuisance. But the slow poison is fairly weak from this enemy. So if you don't want to waste an antidote, you don't really need to. You can just let the poison tick away and then heal yourself. Now, normally, if we hadn't dropped that fire trap below, we would be getting rushed by the enemies based off of that scream. But they're so concerned with the scream, or with the flames down below, that they don't really care about that scream that just happened. So that's why it's important to go in a certain order. Alright, so we'll go ahead and use a couple healing items here. I think that's way more important to do than wasting an antidote. Antidotes are going to be key in the boss fight that we have left to do. So here we're just going to drop down once more. Grab this item here. And you can see like these enemies here standing around. This is all good. We're gonna have a dude usually standing right here. Shoulder bumps. Whenever you get cornered, this is a really good way to do it. Or just don't get cornered. And don't miss all your swings. But this is one of the greatest things about the axe. The axe is one of those things that really allows you to correct mistakes. Now, of course, you need a slower enemy or a cautious enemy to land those kind of attacks. Alright, so we can go ahead and deal with the ones that are afraid of the fire. We'll grab this item here. Alright. So now what we're going to do is head over to the right. There's nothing dangerous here. There's going to be this item. And then this ladder that we want to climb up. There's going to be a shortcut here. Now, originally, when I was dropping down off of the, I don't know, how am I going to call this? The upper area over here, I was thinking that we could save ourselves a trip, because I thought that the original item was sitting on this area here, where I could grab and then go back in here and climb up the ladder. But it's a little bit lower, so there's really no way around it. You have to come back up to the top, regardless if you go to the left side or the right to get the loot. And you're going to understand more what I'm talking about in a second. But either way, you're going to have to make 2 trips up here. If you want to get all the items, that is. And of course you do. Go ahead and get back to full health. Okay. So as we did earlier, we dropped down here and all the way to the lower area on this side and grab the item that was here. Now, what we need to do to get the rest of the items in this zone is continue on this path. And you definitely have the option to go this way first. It's probably the easier option, considering if you want to pick off the enemies coming from the direction of the fire, they're a little bit easier and a little bit more spread out. I dropped down in that corner over there originally, and you saw that the enemies were pretty aggressive. There was 4 of them there. So if you're not wanting to deal with a tough ambush like that, then you can drop down from down here, which is going to be a lot easier for you to deal with. So we're just going to drop on this platform now. We want to grab this. And we need to make this jump over here. So you have to be running to make this jump. You don't have to be running from such a far distance. It allows you to pick up speed really quickly. Now, it's not that simple of a jump, but if you're familiar with the controls, you can definitely pull it off. But if you fall down, it's not a big deal. It shouldn't be a lethal fall. You should probably land on the platforms below you. But falling from here all the way down to the ground, I think you'll survive it. This game is pretty generous with fall damage where, you know, like obviously if you and I fell from that distance, we'd probably die or at least be permanently crippled. So what's the difference really? In this game, you'd be fucked either way. So this is where I would suggest dropping, again, if you're not wanting to deal with such a heavy ambush. You can see here we've got another enemy over there, and we also had an item that we need to get. So we're just going to drop down and then head up the stairs. There's nothing you can do about the fall damage. It's just going to happen. But like I said, it's not too much. So we saw the guy in the corner. No reason to be surprised by that. They're continuing to scream because that's the mechanic that helps them get backup. But like I said, if the fire's going on, they're not going to get that backup. So you don't have to worry about that. And we've already killed pretty much everything in here. So another reason to not be afraid of that. Now these stairs just lead us back to the same area that we started in. So, if you want to clear out those guys after you drop the fire down below, you can. You can approach this way. It's totally fine. Honestly, no matter how you choose to do it, it's all relatively the same. Alright, so we have already unlocked the shortcut by climbing the tall ladder, so now we're just going to go back down to the bottom here, because this is ultimately where we need to go. Make sure that you looted this item here. It's going to be very important for you. And then this time we're going to go to the left. Now, this is a dead end for this item, and it's just guarded by all these birds. Normally, I would suggest like an L2 here, left trigger. You can just take all that damage for the hell of it. I just really didn't feel like diving around. So what I do before I create each episode is I play this through, sometimes twice, usually once. I've got 3 different playthroughs running. The first practice run, the second practice run if I feel like I need it, and then I record the video. So that's why my knowledge is pretty good while I'm recording the video. But when I do... as I just throw a pebble for no reason. But when I do like live streams a year later or something like that, or I'm doing just a fun run, my memory of this stuff isn't as fresh. So it's kind of funny when I make guides, and then when I'm playing the game later on, I'll actually revert back to some of my own guides just because I can't remember as vividly as I once had. Alright, so here's the ladder again. This brings us back up to the top area. And that's important because it connects us to this zone from the machine gun guy, so we can get here a little faster if we need to. That's really going to be useful only because we kept him alive, and we want to get to him from the secret area that I'm about to show you. So here we're going to have one of these nightmare creatures, so we're just going to run all the way down here. It typically runs there. Oh, nope, that's the wrong guy. Where is it? There it is. So we've got the torch, so you don't have to be too concerned with these dudes. It's really hard to see those little monsters. I don't know what they're actually called. I call them nightmare creatures. They look like they're straight from hell. I mean, look at this thing. I would absolutely run like crazy from that. I mean, when you see these monsters, like these beasts, they're like humanoid enough that you're just like, oh, okay, that's a scary little wolf man. But this fucking thing, hell no. I'd be running for my life. And it's way less intimidating. It's just scary as shit to think about. Alright, so let's make sure that we didn't leave any items here. Just kind of running through. Yep, we're good. So we will have a werewolf over here. So we've got 2. Sometimes he'll roam up here when you're fighting those beast men. So you got to be careful about that. But you can see we've got 2 here. So if you get one that gets a little bit aggressive and roams up there, that will explain why you have 1 if you come down here for yourself. I don't like fighting 2 at the same time, so I usually try to get aggro for 1. These guys are just super easy to fight, though. Alright, so he sees us. He was kind enough to wait. He allowed the honor of the duel to take place. Too bad. He was... Oh, nice turn. There's really no reason to do a charge attack. It was just really for style points. You can see here, we're getting upgrade materials really easily now. So it's a good reason to just continually upgrade all the stuff that you've got. You're really not You're not missing out by, or I'm sorry, there's nothing to save those upgrades for. You're gonna get more of them than you can spend ultimately. So literally upgrade all the stuff that you use. Now there's an item here. There's nothing else down here besides this door that's closed from this side. And this is the area that I was referencing, which we're ultimately gonna come through this door and then head back the way we came from to get to the machine gun guy, so that he can actually never have eyes on us until we climb the ladder and approach him that way. That's the only way we get a friendly dialogue option with him, where he will grant us the gesture that I was talking about earlier. So that's why I didn't kill him. But if you want to kill him, it's very simple. I would suggest equipping the regular firearm, the pistol, not the blunderbuss, because the pistol has better range and the enemy is far enough away from you that your blunderbuss might not successfully knock him off the ledge that he's standing on. But your pistol surely will. So climb up, immediately target lock him, and just pull the trigger over and over until he falls. It can take anywhere from 2 to 4 shots. If you don't have it and you just want to try it with the blunderbuss, just move in as much as you can while you're firing. If he dodges it to the side, you're pretty much going to have to fight him. So at that point, I would suggest potentially climbing down the ladder and playing a game of cat and mouse, see if you can get in a favorable position. There's other ways to knock him off, especially if you want to use your axe extended, and you can do a charge-up attack and really blast him backwards. But he's pretty aggressive, and he moves around a lot, so being able to charge up an R2 against a hunter isn't really likely, considering he's just going to shoot you while you're doing that and interrupt that move. So again, hopefully you're following the guide as I'm making it. That's really the intent here, so that I don't have to explain, you know, in episodes down the road what we're doing, because you should be at the same juncture that I am. Now there's going to be a werewolf on the wall here. And again, I'm sorry if you know enemies by different names or there's official names for them. I don't typically have access to the names or study the names. It's not really relevant to me. It's not like it's a boss. All right. So that dude looks like a werewolf. I'm going to call him a werewolf. I think it's pretty common sense there. All right. So we've got another area here that a werewolf is going to bust out through the door. Now, if you know about it, it's not scary, but it literally scared the bejesus out of me when I walked by this the first time. And it's funny because he makes it through the door before the door actually blows up. All right, so sometimes you want to target lock an enemy like this. Now, we're eventually going to go up there, but I first want to clear out this area because we're going to return to there to get to the lantern. If you approach from this direction, you'll kill that guy really easily. Then I actually recommend coming back this way so you can get eyes on the wolf. All right. Let's make sure he didn't drop anything. No. Sometimes they'll drop blood vials, so it's definitely important to take a look. We're going to loot this item. And now we're just going to start running once we get about halfway up here. You'll see why. We got this little dude. This little nightmare. Hellscape. Demon spawn. Cool. And we're going to continue down here. There's going to be 2 item locations. I believe 2. Should have 1 right here. Yep. There's going to be an enemy chilling over here. Now, everybody's just kind of waiting around. So you get a good opportunity to get a charge-up attack. And then we're going to have 2 more enemies to deal with, and then another item. Just trying to locate them. There we go. Oh, that's not good. Sucked. He got a hit in after I killed him. And our last enemy here. I couldn't remember why I had the blunderbuss on, and then I realized it was because I was instructing you guys on how to defeat the NPC. Alright, so here, if you wanted to summon Alfred for the boss fight, that's where the boss is. It is the Blood-Starved Beast, I believe is the name for it. A lot of people struggle with this boss. I've got a variety of tactics that I feel will be pretty helpful, that you shouldn't need to summon Alfred, but I will say that summoning him is probably the easiest route. So if you have insight, it's only going to require 1 to summon him. If you don't have any and you don't want to use the Madmen, you can walk through the door, engage the boss, you'll get 1 insight just for starting that fight. So if you fail, you can use Alfred the next time. Now, whenever you use a summon to assist you in combat, the boss does get tougher, but typically you use that summon as a meat shield, and if the summon will heal themselves like most of them do, it's really beneficial for you because you can essentially use them as a sponge and deal as much damage to the boss as possible. So if you're going to use the summon, what I'm going to suggest to you is utilizing the fire paper. And we're going to get some of that in a second if you don't already have some. You probably have 3, I believe, at this point. Let's take a look. Do we have any at all? Yeah, we have 3 fire paper. I believe we get 2 more, so we should have 5 by the time we walk through that boss door. But we're going back here because we need to go into the building where the werewolf jumped out at us. So there's going to be a couple more enemies in here, but we're going to get some items too. We're going to get antidote, and then we're going to get that fire paper that I'm talking about. I don't think there's anything down here, but of course I like to inspect it. Even though I do my research and run the path a couple times, I still like to be thorough. Alright, so there's going to be 2 guys in here. I would keep the one-handed axe because the torch is going to benefit us when fighting. Is there only 1? I thought there was 2. Alright, so he's going to... There we go, he sees it. Gives us an opportunity. Charge up a big boy. My mistake, I thought there were 2 in here. Alrighty. Here's the locked door. We'll just go ahead and open that, but we still want to go up another level. And there's the fire paper that I was discussing. Okay. So this is a shortcut that's ultimately going to be great for us for this boss fight. So again, you can recognize where we're at hopefully from the beginning of the episode. This is the same area where we dropped down and got our hunter torch, and then we climbed back up to go the other direction. But now we've come full circle and unlocked everything, so now we've got this ease of convenience to navigate the level. And it kind of highlights the reason why we don't want to or care to kill that man off in the distance, because he's not really a problem to us. He's only a difficulty if you choose to go through paths that you shouldn't be going through anyways. Now that we've got these shortcuts unlocked, there's really no reason that he should ever shoot us again. Alright, so we have a lot of blood echoes, and we have a lot of upgrade materials. So we're going to go back to the Hunter's Dream and take advantage of that. Okay. So before I ever level my character up, I want to make sure that I spend my souls, or there we go. Can't get through an episode without saying that. That I spend my blood echoes on upgrading my weapons first. I know it doesn't cost a lot of blood echoes to do it, but we want to make sure that we get them situated. So you can see here that we have 32 bloodstone shards. That's a lot. It's quite a lot. So this is an opportunity to probably work on like the hunter's torch and a gun of your choice. I want to go ahead and get the regular gun. I just want to start making sure that I'm getting a variety of weapons because certain cases make sense to use it. Now, we're still going to use the blunderbuss for the fight. But, for instance, if we want to pull an enemy that's further away than the distance of the blunderbuss and we don't want to use pebbles or we don't have pebbles, we want to use blood bullets because those essentially don't cost us anything, then it's a good idea to go ahead and equip the pistol to do so. So we're going to go ahead and purchase the hunter pistol. And I'm going to purchase the repeating pistol. And we'll go back to these weapons here. Again, you can buy anything that you want, but I would suggest using the items that I'm continuing to use unless I say anything different, because I believe these are the easiest to use and they're going to make the most sense because you're going to have all the upgrades into them. So unless you just have an overabundance of upgrade materials, there's really no reason to buy a weapon if you can't upgrade it up to the par of your current weapon, because it's not going to be an improvement. So let's go ahead and bump up the rifle spear here. Okay. Now we also want to go to our blood gem fortification, because we have picked up some new gems, so we want to see if we've got any improvements. Let's go ahead and see here. The physical attack increase is nice on this one. It's maybe not enough to warrant replacing the HP recovery, but this one here is, in my opinion, because not only does it improve our physical attack significantly, but it also improves our charge up attack. So it's got a secondary bonus there that's definitely worth it for us. All right. We're hardly ever using our secondary weapon, but it's honestly no reason to not use your upgrade materials because you have them. You know what I mean? So you might as well use them when you can. Obviously, we can't do it on the left-handed weapons because they don't have any slots. All right. So since we know we're going to do the boss fight, let's just go ahead and get ourselves ready here. So I'm going to show you a method that I believe is the best way to go about it. It's a sort of combination of methods. We're definitely going to want the antidote equipped. That is a must-have for this fight. So you want that. And then a pungent blood cocktail is going to be important. You can also have the fire paper. Now, some people might want to use Molotovs, and that will go good if you're using it after the pungent blood cocktail. But if you're just using Molotovs while you're in the middle of the fight, the boss is so erratic and so fast moving that you're not going to be wanting to throw a Molotov. The action is very slow, and you're going to have to be at a significant distance to justify spending that time in that throwing animation. And the problem with that, on that aspect, is if you're at a distance, then the boss is going to be closing the distance very fast. And throwing just isn't that accurate in this game, so I wouldn't suggest using a Molotov cocktail in this situation. Alright, so we definitely will not be using the torch in that fight. So you could go in with the axe in its long range form, and I would definitely suggest that once you apply the fire to it. But if you're going to try to use charge up attacks, like for to land a visceral, then I would do it on a one-handed mode, because typically when you hit an enemy with a visceral or with a charge up attack in a two-hand mode, it's going to do 2 hits, and sometimes that'll take it out of the stun mode and won't allow you to land a visceral attack. So when you have the fire paper equipped on the two-hand mode, it's going to do close to as much damage as landing the stunning and visceral attack. So you have to decide what you want to do from that point. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get ready for this fight. We want to spend the rest of our blood echoes.
Very well, then.
At this point, I'm going to be interested in upping vitality. We're just going to keep trying to get vitality and endurance to 20. Those are our goals. But for this fight specifically, health is going to be at a premium. So instead of just doing 1 vitality and 1 endurance right now, it made more sense to me to do the twice 2 spending and vitality. All right. So we just returned back to Old Yharnam. And we're going to definitely need our gun. So make sure that you at least have one of your guns equipped. Blunderbuss or pistol. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure you don't run through this part, because if you slide off, you're going to take too much damage. If you do it properly, you should only take a very small amount of damage, if any at all. So this is just a quick way to get back to where we need to be. Don't need to fight any of these enemies here. If anything, I only killed this guy because he does drop blood vials. So he didn't drop any there, so that's unlucky, but that's okay. Now we can just continue to run, it's no problem. I know they're fast, but we're actually really fast in this game too, so we should be able to outmaneuver them. Again, if you want to summon Alfred, he's right there. Knock yourself out. But what we're going to do... Let me make sure these dudes aren't following me all the way. Okay. What we're going to do is try to keep right in this boss's face at all times, because it's going to give us our best opportunity to parry him. He'll stand up on his back legs, and that when he does that, you'll immediately fire the trigger. He'll also lift back his arms to swipe at you. There's 2 variants of that. One, he's intending to hit you at close range, and another is he's intending to do this like very large lunging sweep. If you misread it, all that'll happen is you'll shoot, you'll hit him, or you'll shoot behind him, and he'll typically just slide right by you because we're so close. And he stands up tall to do that attack that you're not going to take damage from it, and then you're just going to have to turn around and face him again and close the distance. The reason that I don't want to be far away from him is because that will unfortunately sometimes cause him to do this leaping attack that grabs you and can literally one-shot you, because it will fully poison you, and it does so much damage that the time you recover from the actual physical damage, meaning you stand up, you almost instantly die because you're already taking poison damage. So it's essentially a one-shot kill. And if you somehow manage to survive long enough to use a blood vial, the enemy is almost certainly already hitting you again and killing you then. So you're really screwed if you allow that attack to land on you. So what we're going to do again, we're going to move in. We're going to stay directly in front of him as frequently as possible. Continually try to parry our attacks. And we're also going to have the antidote ready to use at any time we need it. And once the boss gets to what I'm going to call its 3rd phase, it's not like you have some kind of cinematic where it goes in and out of phases, but you'll recognize a difference in the boss because it will become more aggressive. It will seem like it's juicier, it's dripping with more poison, and you'll take more poison damage the closer you are to it. And that's what I consider its 3rd phase. And at that point, that's when we're going to use these pungent blood cocktails. You should not have been using these at any point in the game. There's nothing that's required you to do so. So hopefully you have at least 5 of these, because I haven't been using them either. So we should have the same. Or you should have more, potentially. I believe there's other ways to get this. You could get them as loot. So you could have more or maybe a little bit less, because some of these were probably just loot drops and not actual item pickups. But if you need more, if you run out, you can get 1 for insight at the insight vendor, or you can get 1 for 2,000 blood echoes, I believe, at the bath messengers back at the Hunter's Dream. So there's two options to purchase them, and then of course you can get them from enemy drops, but they're fairly rare, as you can see, since we only have 5 and haven't used any at this point. So once we throw the Pungent Blood cocktail, then we're gonna apply the fire paper to our weapon. The boss will basically be interested in the Pungent Blood cocktail for essentially 2 cycles of attacks. It's gonna go after it and swat at it once, and it will readjust itself and swat at it again. Now you can decide, do you want to go for a critical attack, or do you just want to get in as many hits as possible in that phase? I would say, because we're using the axe and it's a little bit short, if you're in the one-handed mode, you would probably want to go for as many hits as possible. I'm going to, when I set it ablaze, I'm going to get close to the boss and just do the charge up. If I can get behind it and stagger it like that, I'll try it, but it's not a guarantee. If we have it in the one hand, we'll definitely land the staggering crit. However, you'll typically miss the boss because it's continuing to move forward after the bait, and you have to be stationary to do that. So if you want to land the crits at that point, it might benefit you more to have a stabby type weapon like the cane, or to use the whatchamacallit, this guy right here, the saw spear. Yeah, I can remember things, I promise. All right, so before we initiate the fight, I want to get 5 additional blood bullets. Not that 20 isn't plenty, but why use them if we know that we're gonna be able to get blood bullets over here? So there's an enemy here. Gonna go ahead and damage myself. Got almost 100% of that health back. I probably could have if I did a charge up attack, but I wanted to make sure I recovered the majority of that. So this is fine. So we are ready for the fight. Good luck to me. This isn't very easy, but if you do it right, you should be okay. Now, you most likely run into scenarios where you're gonna have to bail out and heal up. So that's exactly what I was talking about. It went right over my head. So you can see, as long as we stay in close, we're gonna keep the fight in our advantage. When it's on the wall like that, if you want to readjust, you can come back, use this zone to your advantage. I missed that. I missed all of that. There we go. It is weird doing a boss fight while you're commentating it. So this is basically its second phase, but it's no different. It's just a little bit sloppier. You see now when it hits us, it does more poison buildup, but not like its third phase. So those are the lunging attacks that you really want to be aware of. Oh, unlucky. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and throw the cocktail. It should be moving for it. All right. Because of that phase taking so long, it just lost interest. Unlucky. Very nice. So you can see it gets a little hectic, but I believe that the Pungent cocktail in combination with the parry method is the best. Now, the only reason that I go away from the parry method at this point is to show you the alternative methods. If I was truly doing this by myself and not making a guide for it, I would probably just continue to parry it. But the third phase is so hectic, and I want to try to teach you different ways to fight the enemy, that just showing you parrying nonstop isn't really going to be helpful to a lot of you, because some of you might not be good at parrying. You might panic a little, you might not have the timing right, and it just becomes difficult. And I know not everybody's good at the same thing, so there's a variety of ways to fight it. I would also suggest, if you're just not good at parrying and you don't have any Pungent blood cocktails and you just want to beat the hell out of it with your melee weapon, it is fairly easy to do a lot of dodging and land hits. So I would switch to the faster weapon like this. Use your fire paper, and you can get behind it. Like, you're going to want to use your camera lock when you get in close, because you're going to need to dodge to the right mostly, I would say. And again, utilize that enemy standing up on its hind legs, the high left hand sweeps, so you can actually dodge under it to the left to avoid damage. But if you're doing that, you're never going to be able to hit it, because you could see during the fight, whenever it does that move, whenever it raises its right arm and sweeps over our head, it also shoots its body like way off in the distance. So there's no follow-up damage to be had there. That's why I ultimately choose to parry it, because it makes the fight a lot shorter and more manageable. But like I said, I know some of you struggle with that. So it is definitely doable by staying relatively close and behind it and just following it as it freaks out. And again, you can damage trade with it, especially in the first phase, because it's not dealing that kind of poison damage. The third phase is really heavy poison damage. So if you're going to damage trade with it, you need to make sure it's at the very end of its life, because you're not going to be able to sustain through that poison as well. It's going to continually eat away at you and you're screwed. Now, there are 3 more antidotes back here, and you can totally use this area to basically keep the boss off of you. It will circle around this, and you don't have the same vision to see it. Like, I mean, this thing is big enough that you won't be able to see the boss until it's right up on you. So if you want to use this kind of like you would use if you just punched your dad in the nuts and wanted to run in circles around the car to avoid him, you would just basically do that here. And it's a great opportunity to land heals, get antidote usage, fire paper. Even, I would say, if I wanted to make sure that the boss was in a small area where I could do damage with my Pungent blood cocktails, throwing them over here would almost guarantee that you'd be able to land good damage, because he's not going to be able to sprint off on a big attack off in a different direction. Because some of the times when I threw the cocktail, you would see that the boss would just flail its attack and end up like way over here, even though the cocktail was thrown right here. And then it would turn around and come back towards it and flail in that direction. And it's not like I can just stand in front of it. Just because I threw the cocktail doesn't mean that it's not going to hit me as well. So if you're trying to get behind it and land a critical, you're going to want to do that in a more enclosed area. I wasn't really after that method, because I feel like you're going to waste too many cocktails just chasing crits. So getting in that damage with the fire weapon is better. And you got to remember, when you land a visceral attack, it's not your weapon that's landing it, it's your hand. So regardless of how powerful your weapon is, it's not actually dealing enhanced visceral attack. All your weapons do the same visceral damage. So keep that in mind. All right, so we did a good job there. I know some of you will get stuck here and it can get frustrating. It might be a good opportunity for you to turn on online mode and seek other players' assistance to help you out. If Alfred the NPC isn't good enough assistance for you, And that's always an option for you guys. If you're following the guide and you get stuck in a zone or a boss fight that's just too tough, go ahead and seek assistance. This is one of the most popular games on PlayStation 4, especially considering it was a PS Plus game at some point. So there's always going to be players that are looking to help and assist. So don't be shy. You can definitely get assistance elsewhere. Sweet. So we should have some armor over here. Let's go ahead and talk to Gehrman for a second.
The healing church and the blood ministers who belong to it were once guardians of the hunters in the times of the hunter Ludwig. They worked and forged weapons in their unique workshop. Today, most ministers don't recall the hunters, but they have much to offer you. And so, heed the message of your forebears. Ascend to Erden Chapel. Ascend to Erden Chapel. From there, you will find the church workshop.
Alright, so he's giving us some direction. That's nice. And remember, we did pick up the charred armor set. So if you want to wear that, I think it's a good one. And that's actually what I'm going to be using at the moment. It doesn't come with a hat, so use it with whatever hat you like. I'm going to keep Father Gascoigne's hat on. It's a good fit for pretty much most outfits. Some of the hats don't make sense, but this one kind of works with a lot of things. And then we've got some insight to spend. Like I said, you could get Pungent blood cocktails here for 1 insight. And then you can also... Oh, that's right. We don't have the attire to purchase because we didn't actually kill the NPC with the Gatling gun. You can get, I believe it's called the Ashen set. It's pretty cool looking. Again, we're not going to have that until we decide to ally with him. And he will give us the badge, the patch then. And then also we'll be getting the gesture. So you're not missing out on the gear. You're just not able to get it at this moment. And again, like I said, I do multiple playthroughs before I make these guides to double check on certain things. And so like my previous one, I killed him to make sure that that was all that dropped at the moment. And thus, I was sitting here thinking we could get that armor, but I forgot. It kind of blends in, but we get it right at the end. All right. So if you want to get anything from the Bath Messengers, this is your opportunity to. Again, you can see here the 2,000 per blood cocktail. Now, if you've been playing as I've instructed you to, you haven't been consuming any of your cold blood. So if you really need more cocktails for that fight, you can totally consume some of those. So I would just say, if you're struggling, go online, try to use assistance. If you're stubborn like me and just refuse to do that, invest in some Pungent blood cocktails. You can farm. You don't need to use the cold blood. There's plenty of ways to get blood echoes and get the items that you need. Again, there is a way to defeat that boss with Molotov cocktails, of course. I just think it's way too risky. You see how difficult it is to just use an antidote or a blood vial. The Molotov cocktail takes even more time than that, and you're probably going to miss a lot. So, while they're cheaper to get, of course, they're a lot less effective in my opinion because of the amount of times you're going to miss. So, if this is an opportunity for you to go ahead and get some of the extra weapons that you don't have yet, go ahead and take that chance. Or, as I would suggest, we're going to go ahead and improve our character level.
Well, what is it you desire? Very well. Let me...
Oops, I always do that. I think I need to activate it before I invest the stats. All right, cool. So we did get to 20. That's a good little stopping point there for the vitality until we can get our stamina or endurance up to level 20. And that's going to be the end of this episode. So thank you guys again for staying with me through this series. I hope you're enjoying it. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comment section below. And also check me out on Twitch. I stream very frequently. And you can find more details about that on the Discord. So the Discord and Twitch are linked in the video description below. So come check us out. Hang out. We'll see you guys later. Peace.